Hello, everybody. Hello. We are live. We are live with the creator of ZeroLend himself, Mr. Riker, right here. We would be happy to quickly show you the code base that is currently being audited on Sherlock. The goal of this meeting today would be to just have a brief overview, go into some important aspects right here, and then answer any questions that you have. So yeah, I think with that we will get it going. Riker, the stage is yours. Feel free to go over it.
Perfect. Just 1 second. I'm just trying to get my AirPods.
Sure, sure. We can
Yeah,
wait. In the meantime, everybody's gonna be joining.
yeah, that's cool. No, as long as this is recorded and people can have a look at it, more than awesome.
Yes.
So so thank you guys, Dan. Really appreciate you setting this up, and super excited for ZeroLend to kind of do this competition with Sherlock. And so you guys are we are super excited and we're grateful for the work that you guys are going to do. And regarding ZeroLend, so just a brief about ZeroLend, guys. We are one of the fastest growing money markets on different layer twos. And the scope of this competition is ZeroLend 1, which is our um, upcoming version 2 of our learning protocol. So yeah, with that, happy to now jump into a bit of what the scope is, what the code is, and yeah, and what the protocol looks like. I'll also see if I can share some exclusive screenshots and UI that maybe is not public yet, so we can maybe so that you guys can maybe understand a bit of how things would be looking and working. So I'll try and see if I can get that done. But yeah, that's really it. So then I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know
Yes, please.
if you can,
We will have
if the
some alpha here as well in this.
yeah,
Those people that are
yeah,
watching live or will be watching afterwards will be greatly rewarded.
yeah, absolutely. So let me know if the screen is visible.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, perfect. So guys, ZeroLend 1 is the next version of ZeroLend. It takes inspiration from isolated lending markets. So there are a few projects or protocols that are doing this. The most famous one or the most prominent one is Morpho. But there are a few others that are also doing isolated lending, which is like you have Euler Finance that's probably launching also sometime this year. You have Silo Finance that's already live and across multiple different networks. But the idea is that basically it's a way to scale lending demand across many assets and many chains at scale, right? So the issue with ZeroLend right now, which is an Aave fork, right, is that ZeroLend cannot scale to many assets and many chains. And the reason why is because risk management is quite expensive and hard. And so by isolating everything and following this new architecture, we are able to maybe grow or scale the entire protocol faster. And that's the scope of this audit today. Plus, of course, we have permission, like the isolated permissionless markets. Plus, there are a few interesting, nice to have features. Like, for example, every position on ZeroLend is represented as an NFT. We have some, walls that are very similar to Morpho walls. So these are some of the things that also are like cherries on top, are additional features that are exciting for us to talk about, right? So that's really the gist of it. The main differentiator between ZeroLend and some of the other lending protocols is that the isolated wall lending pools are very flexible and can have multiple assets inside of it. So this is typically how I guess Silo or Morpho lending markets look like. and this is sort of how a zero lend market looks like. You can have multiple assets inside a lending pool with more with assets borrowing each other and more flexibility uh, in that in each asset. So this is some of the features. We also take some inspiration from Uniswap v4, where there's something called as a hook, a liquidity hook. These are special functions that get called inside of a lending pool. And this allows users to sort of add extra functionality and extra use case into their lending pool beyond just a simple supply and borrow lending pool. So this is something that we're also sort of excited to share. And lastly, we speak about, we also introduce curated walls. It's very similar to Metamorpho by Morpho, but the only difference with the curated walls that ZeroLend offers is that these walls are, very flexible. So they can also, supply to a pool or a wall that is not part of ZeroLend. So we have a lot of flexibility with curated walls. But it follows a very similar structure and a very similar goal as Metamorpho by Morpho. So that's a bit about like the high level architecture of ZeroLend one. So that's really the thing. Now moving on to the GitHub, and this is the GitHub repository where we are maintaining the code base. There's a lot of tests written. There's tests in Forge, there's tests in Halmos, there's tests in Hardhat. So there's a lot of unit tests that have been done and written on the code base. On the GitHub, you will be able to use Hardhat or Foundry. Both of these, frameworks are compatible as you start building it. And the README of the GitHub repo gives a brief overview of how everything looks. So you can see the like a high level architecture diagram of how the entire protocol operates, along with documentation, unit tests, and so on and so forth, and coverage reports as well. In this GitHub repo, you can of course go into the wiki, which gives you of course, contract level documentation. So here, basically, we're able to see each contract and the documentation for the functions and the variables inside of that particular contract. So you're more than welcome to go through the wiki and find things yourself. And in terms of the architecture, it looks like this. Basically, we have three different modules. We have the pools, which is where all the lending and borrowing happens. We have a position, NFT position manager, that allows users to manage multiple positions and manage their position within a lending pool. And then finally, we have a vault, which is where all the risk management and the passive users who are just supplying assets will be interacting with the protocol. So it's a really, really simple architecture. It's taking the best from what has been there in the space. It's taking the best of Uniswap, the best of Aave, the best of Morpho, and trying to make it into something that just fits in 3,000 lines of code. And so that's really what we sort of have here. So yeah, guys, that's really it. Moving into the actual code base itself. So the core contracts is where a lot of the protocol lives. And inside of the core contracts, we have mostly three modules. So the lending pool itself, the NFT position manager that manages positions for users, and finally the vaults, where all the risk management and the passive users will be participating into in the protocol. In terms of the lending pool itself, the lending pool is designed taking inspiration from Aave. So you can say that this entire code base is like Aave, but stripped down to the bare minimum. So if anyone is familiar with Aave, they would feel at home with this code base because you have a very similar structure. Like in Aave, you have the borrow logic, all of these logical files that encapsulate different parts um, of the protocol. So the same thing sort of applies here as well. So here, the architecture is similar to Aave. You have your logic folders with all the supply logic, validation logic, and so on. You have the pool configurator that manages the various properties of the pool. You have the pool manager, which is in Aave's terminology, it is the ACL manager, where permissions and roles are managed across various users. And then finally, you have the lending pool itself. It is stripped down to the bare minimum, which means we remove features like isolation mode, E mode. So these are things that are not needed in ZeroLend 1, but just keep a focus on lending and borrowing, and that's really all there is. Of course, this code has been slightly modified so that we can do things like, for example, represent users with their own position. So here is like some of the code base that we use to sort of represent users and their various positions. We have an internal accounting system. So here, internally, we're accounting supplies and borrows. So there's an internal accounting system that's been added in. So in summary, I would say Aave code shrunk down and then slightly improved with some nice bells and whistles, right? One of the main things to note is that every aspect of the pool, the walls, they all have a factory contract, which is used by people to create new versions of the pool. So you'll find a pool factory contract inside of the pools folder. The same thing goes with walls. Even walls has a factory contract. So we have these factory contracts that are responsible for creating new instances of a pool. So anyone can create a lending pool. This is absolutely permissionless. And they can pass in all the information like how much assets they want to create, list, and who are the people that will be owning the pool, and so on and so forth. So all of that information is permissionless and public, and so anyone can create a lending pool on their own. So that's really the lending pools. Um, we have a very interesting proxy. So there's a proxy that is custom made for ZeroLend 1. We call it a revocable beacon proxy. And the idea is that basically it's a proxy contract that lets users to revoke the upgradability if they choose to. And this is because that in some cases, some users would want to have their pools completely immutable. So in those particular cases, they can choose to revoke their the pool implementation. So essentially, this is a revocable proxy that we have made, which is also at the same time a beacon. So again, very, very simple code to sort of go through and understand. The next major bit is the NFT position manager. This is taking inspiration from Uniswap v3, where Uniswap v3, every NFT represents a position on Uniswap v3. So this contract is just an NFT contract that mints NFTs for a user. Every NFT that is minted for a user is a position in a lending pool. Users can supply, borrow, withdraw, repay in the NFT just as they would with a lending pool. But of course, the benefit is that the positions are NFTs. So if they wanted to, they can move their entire position to another wallet. So that's a really cool feature to have. And finally, last but not the least, this is the curated vault. The vaults are basically very similar to Metamorpho on Morpho, where risk managers and risk curators would come and curate these vaults, which then supply take in collateral, take in taken tokens from a user and then allocates it to different lending pools on ZeroLend One. So essentially, here users can, vault curators can, like decide what pools they want to supply to, set caps on various pools. Users, on the other hand, they can, where is that? Let me see if I can find. Yeah, deposit, withdraw into these vaults. These vaults are also ERC 4626 vaults. So they are also compatible with the ERC 4626 standard. So yeah, that's essentially what is the last piece of the protocol. So that's really the scope of the entire audit that we're looking for you guys to look into. Everything else in some of the other folders like governance and periphery, these are like very minor. They don't need to be like audited as such. But what you would find is basically unit tests written for um, the pools, positions, and walls. You'll find these written in Foundry. You will find tests written in Hard Hat as well. So all of these tests have been written for you guys. You can also look at these tests to understand how do we set up and initialize some of these pools. For example, here you can see the code to initialize a pool on your own, right? So you can go through the unit tests to understand how to set up things, right? Um, and lastly is we just recently finished an audit with Halbon. So the Halbon audit will be shared. Like I think the report is there. We'll just have to share it as well. But an audit report with Halbon is ready, and you guys can also go through that to understand a bit about how the code base looks like and how what some of the other issues auditors have faced. So that's really the gist of the code base here. And lastly, we would like to show you a bit of the interface. This is totally work in progress. This is not live, but essentially what the walls and pools, how they would look like. This is like a brief overview of how this would look. Essentially, all the curated walls, would kind of get shown here, where users can see the curators, see the assets, see the walls that that are currently live. Users can also see the pools. They're all permissionless pools where they can have multiple assets for supply and borrow. And of course, managers, and users can create both lending pools and walls. So this is something exciting. So here you can choose the LTVs or the liquidation thresholds. These are various parameters inside of a lending pool that you can customize. You can feed in the address, the oracle, and so on. So this is sort of like a bit of glimpse of how the new contracts, the new version of ZeroLend is going to sort of look. And essentially the idea is that this is going to be our version of something that's more scalable, that is probably more risk curated, right? We will be able to do like meme coin lending. We'll be able to do like LP token lending, Pendle token lending. A lot of interesting assets can be onboarded with this version. And yeah, the smart contracts are done. We are super excited to share this with you. I will be, of course, online on Discord. I've been online on the Sherlock Discord for the last 24 hours. So you guys are more than welcome to ask questions there. I'm also going to be responsive. And that's really it, Dan. That's hopefully a quick summary of everything. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's really it.
that was great. That was great. Thank you so much for that. And I have to say, the UI looks very good. I really love the ZeroLand design, not only on the UI side, but on the smart contract side as well. Everything very well organized, a lot of documentation for auditors to check. So if you don't know where to come to audit the code base, feel free to go to the Sherlock website and you'll see all the live contests and this one as well, and you'll be able to join Discord and take a look at the code base yourself. Everyone who is already actively auditing the code base, feel free to ask any questions that you have. Right now, we'll leave 5 minutes for any Q&A, and after that, you're free to reach out to Riker himself in Discord. He's a very responsive and kind man, so he'll answer all your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait for just a few minutes, see if anybody has any pending questions right now based on your presentation. If not, um, we'll leave it as is.
Yeah. No, so you guys are more than welcome. I mean, I'm there on the Discord, right? And we want to do as much as we can to support you guys in doing this bounty, right? And a couple of things, yeah, really apologize for delaying this by an extra week. We needed to document things a bit more for you guys, so that you guys can understand what's working. And at the same time, we had to sort of work on the unit test a bit more. So that's really why we had to delay this, but grateful that you guys are here. There's a question that says from Vishal, what's the flow of the contracts? Meaning which contracts talks to which? Okay, so Vishal, there's a high level version of this. You will find it in our GitHub, and I will just showcase this to you right now. So if you go to ZeroLend 1 in the GitHub, here is the high-level version of how the contracts speak to each other, and also a high-level version of the actors as well. So in ZeroLend 1, we have a borrower who is a person who borrows assets, a supplier who is a person who supplies assets, a pool manager who is a person that creates and manages his lending pools, and a risk manager who is a person that manages the walls and risk. So in this, we have, of course, the pools and the pool contracts that are over here. Then, of course, the pool factory contract, you can see how the pool factory contract interacts with the pools, right? We have the NFT position manager that manages positions. The pool manager that is sort of the control for all the config values in the pools, right? The factory, which is again for the curated walls, the walls that basically provide liquidity into the various pools. Yeah, and so this is the high level structure of how the contracts sort of interact with each other. So this should hopefully answer your question. If you want an even deeper explanation, the unit tests are a fantastic source. So you can easily go into like some of the unit tests and see, for example, here, like this is, like how walls are created. Let me just see if there's another better one I can show you. Yeah, so this one, for example, will show you how you can mint into a wall. So here you can see all the different. You can work your way backwards to see how all the contracts are connected with each other. So just following the code, you can kind of see that we just look at integration wall test. That's like kind of this contract here, and here you can see all the how everything is interacting with each other in terms of the factories and the implementations and whatever. So hopefully the unit tests will give you an even deeper understanding of how the contracts work with each other. So just taking the next two ones, there are many contracts, but the souls are not mentioned there. So essentially the soul contracts are, like it's not mentioned in the diagram, but we can prepare one. I can prepare one and share it in the GitHub repo as well. So we can go like a little bit more in depth for you guys. That's not an issue. So I think by the weekend, we can give you guys like a dot soul interaction flow, and that should hopefully help here. Can you please clarify the roles? So there are four kinds of users, and the roles are slightly different. Like, but on a high level, you have borrowers, suppliers, pool managers, and risk managers. In terms of roles, there are two contracts that have roles. The first one is on the pool side, you have what is called the pool manager. Pool managers have three kinds of roles: a pool admin, an emergency admin, and a risk admin. And then the vaults have basically, let me pop that open. The vaults have admins, curators, guardians, and allocators. So these are the rough summary of the different kinds of roles. But on a high level, they all fulfill one of these personas, right? Borrowers borrow, supply collateral, and borrow debt. Suppliers supply debt. Risk managers manage all the risk parameters and where liquidity goes to. And pool managers basically create pools and in some cases set supply caps and borrow caps. So that's really the high level of the roles. Um, Sorry if I missed that, but are all the issues from the previous audit fixed? Yes. There's so before that's also why we had to delay this competition, is because we had to like just fix all of those issues, get this test working, and get that sorted. So if you do find those issues persisting, you're more than welcome to raise that up. But yeah, those issues have been fixed. However, we do suspect one issue which you guys are more than welcome to investigate, is that we do suspect a decimal issue. Sorry, I'm going to the wrong place. We do suspect an inflation attack issue, which the previous auditor could not find as of now. But there is a decimal. If you go under the shares mathlib, there is a decimal attack that could be inflation attack that could arise from this vault. And the reason why it could arise is because the vault uses a different kind of share accounting system versus what the pools use. So this could be something you guys might be able to find. We did raise it up with the previous auditor, but they could not find any issues. But if you guys do find something here, that would be great. But yeah, most of the issues have been resolved already. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great. Yes, the diagram will be provided
Over
post week,
over the
probably.
weekend, yes.
Yeah, over the weekend. Yeah, I think we can end here. This was quite thorough. Thank you, Riker, very much. And this video is recorded, so it will be available from the YouTube link in Discord. Everybody can take a look. If you have missed anything, don't worry. Thanks a lot, Riker. Wish you great luck to everybody hunting for bugs. We even got some alpha on how the app is going to look like and where to look for bugs. Probably the most productive code
Yeah.
book we had so far for auditors. So use this information wisely, and we hope to see some great bugs that you found, some creative stuff. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Riker. Have a great day.
Yeah. Take care. Talk to you soon.